So thank you folks for joining this week's Tech Club. I'm Jose Reyes. I am your host this week for AIA TEXO Steering Committee. We have been working hard on our end to bring you different solutions that you may find either on the design side or on the general contractor side. This week's workshop is with Teleworker AI. We'll be having a conversation with Igor Starkov. First, before we jump into the interview, the point of AIA Dallas, AIA TEXO is the goal and vision is to bring the industry together through technology and AI. AI has been very, very big over the past 2 or 3 years. What we have been doing in our program is we've been meeting twice a year for a larger roundtable where we will meet and talk about ideas. But in addition to that, we have been meeting twice a month in a series called Tech Club. So how the program works, the first part of the program was collecting everybody's information, trying to understand what the design team's pain points were. In addition to that, trying to understand the general contractor's pain points. What were things that were working for folks? What were things that weren't working for folks? To try to help find solutions and reduce the amount of noise. The second part of the program, we analyzed more conversations, some heated discussions about what some firms were pushing to the side or what other firms were grabbing on and holding on to. In addition to that, analysis, small step solutions. So if something did work, we were definitely bringing that to everybody's attention during those meetings. The current part of the program has been education. Our past workshops have included Graham and Wes from SpecBook AI. They were able to show us what they were developing when it came to using their large language models to make specification writing easier for everybody on the design side. We also had Aaron Borwerk from Ignite speak with us about what his large-scale enterprise solutions, not only just for the design industry, but every industry across the board. Another workshop was with Haresh Palani. He is a digital practice specialist at Perkins and Will. What he was able to bring to the table was how he was using large learning models or large language models to help him and his design team code scripts to plug into Rhino or to plug into Revit so that he could come up, him and his team could come up with more unique solutions. Just a few weeks ago on the documentation front, we met with Eric Shonset and James Chambers from Bluebeam. They were able to show us some documentation solutions on the Bluebeam platform, not only in 2 dimensions, but also in 3 dimensions. Today, I'm able to introduce Igor Starkov with Teleworker AI. He's an expert in the construction process management software solutions. So he co-founded Ecodemus and then also co-founded Latista. So things that he has helped Chrisman company work through automated daily capture, instant cloud upload, BIM overlay via InterAR, and live remote support. So we've been able to see his robots on site. They're a huge hit, not only with our trade partners, specifically with our trade partners. We have seen trade partners go out of their way to take videos and to take snapshots of your equipment at work, and some of the tangible tangible benefits that we have found is listed here: reduced site disruption, faster issue resolution, lower travel costs, and stronger claims and dispute protection further down the road. So with that said, Igor, if you could go ahead and take control and tell us a little bit more about Teleworker AI and things that you see coming down the pipeline for design professionals and for general contractors as well, constructors.
Absolutely, Jose. Thank you. If I could get access to share button, I will share my screen. If I made a presenter, right now it's not active.
Sorry about that.
While we're waiting for that, I can tell you a bit of the story. I've been, as you saw from the previous slide, I've been in construction and software industry for 25 years. I had 2 exits, and last my exit to Siemens, I spent there 2.5 years as the VP of Digital Twin. And as I was thinking about my next, I still cannot select share my screen. I'm not the presenter. The share button is grayed out. Oh, now it is. Now it's got all good. So now I can share my screen. So as I was working at Siemens and thinking about digital twins, I observed that humans, us, typically struggle with containing all of the information that we put into the BIM and integrate it with the other technologies. So I started thinking, well, if we humans are struggling, why not deploy the digital twin into the brain of the robot? And fortunately, there were cheaper devices entering the market, like, for example, Unitree robots, as opposed to more expensive Boston Dynamics pods that cost north of $100,000. So I realized that it can be done, that now the robots are crossing the chasm, so to say. So they are now affordable for any project. Because those of you who work at large construction companies know that pretty much most of the top 10, top 20 construction firms did 1 or 2 pilots in the past with expensive robotic equipment just to show that, yeah, we can do that. But it didn't scale really. So I wanted to make it scalable for every project. And in order to do that, I needed to show that actually robots can work at the regular project and be cheaper than humans doing similar work. So we started thinking about doing that. And fortunately, from my past experience with the Ecodomus and Digital Twin, I had a bunch of customers that I could pretty much reach out and say, guys, do you want to do that? And so we started working with both clients like facility owners, as well as the GCs like Chrisman, right? And pretty much what we decided to focus on is how do we make it at affordable prices? How can we speed up not just the standard workflows, but how can we speed up the project? And we realized that we actually can use the robots after hours during the let's say nighttime or early morning by using the overseas labor to control those devices. And by doing so, we can prepare the job site. In addition to reality capture, we can do some additional use cases in the future that would speed up the project performance. Also, we started realizing that when we control the robots remotely, that's why the company is called Teleworker, right? Because we can see what the robots are doing remotely. We realized that the same superintendent can actually control, or project manager can control multiple projects from the same location. So you can sit, let's say, in Houston and control one project in Dallas, another in Austin, etc. So we started looking at the robots, but first we realized that there will be different types of robots, right? So our platform as a software needs to work with not only robot dogs, but also with the wheel devices in the future, with humanoid robots, with drones, etc. And as we started working with these devices and adding our brains on top of these devices, we realized that humans have to be a part of that equation, that robots are not replacing humans. It's impossible. What they will be augmenting what humans are doing at the job site. The challenge with us humans is that we are not digital, right? So how do we see what the robot can see? Fortunately, augmented reality came to power, right? So you guys have seen probably HoloLens, Magic Leap, and some other devices So we said, look, let's have augmented reality to be providing us the value to the humans and in the future become a bridge between us humans and the robotic devices. So we started building the software that actually allows to do that. So we could connect to the existing business systems, let's say Procore, SAP, IBM, etc. And so the tasks that are managed in those devices can be assigned to the robots or to humans or to a combination of a robot and a human. And we can then track it and say, yes, robot number one finished the job. Robot number two is still working. Human that is assisting them is also like finishing his subtask. And through the eyes of either the robot or a human, we can see what's happening at the job site. So what you see this below, this is the interface through which we can see what the robot can see and we can control the robot. We can either teleoperate the robot or run the robot in autonomous mode. In autonomous mode, meaning that robot walks itself, we don't touch it, we don't have to click the buttons. But if we want to interfere, let's say robot doesn't know what to do, then we grab the attention and we start manipulating where the robot needs to go or what it needs to do. So it's the same platform for both robotic work and for the human work, enhanced by digital twins and enhanced by augmented reality. On the augmented reality, like I mentioned, we started working with Magic Leap because as of now, these are the best headsets for augmented reality. They have the widest field of view, the best battery life, etc. So they're transparent, as you can see. So we started adding ability to see the BIM models at 1:1 scale or 1:50 scale. We added ability to create tasks within that augmented reality as we see at different assets. We had the ability to add work orders and groups of tasks, associate them with the activities so people can open or close them. And these can be integrated with our robotic workforce, so the dogs like that. It can be also showing the sensors values that exist during commissioning. For example, you can commission your building like better. And quite important is ability to connect to remote colleagues of yours. So you can create a session with your colleague and look at the same equipment together to understand what needs to be done, right? So all of that can work on Magic Leaps, or it can be working on iOS devices like iPhone, iPad. So this is the example how, for example, I'm sitting in Virginia here and my colleague in Michigan at Chrisman job site, by the way, and Hannah, and I tell her, Hannah, please go straight, Hannah, turn left, Hannah, go straight. And so the beam that you see here in the window, she can see it in real life, as if all of those pipes are real, even though it's all overlaid over the actual news job site. And I see it as like through my regular web browser interface. So if there is some task, let's say you have a Revisto clash, we receive that Revisto clash into our system. We review it with her together. She's standing at the site. I'm sitting at home. And I tell her, Hannah, can you please hide that wall? I want to see what is inside of the wall. She said, sure, let me hide the walls layer. And she's hiding it, and we can see through the walls and the ceilings, so kind of X-ray vision. And so she can actually do something as right there at the site. So she's acting as my human robot pretty much, right? So she's doing whatever I need from her to do. She can, for example, identify that something is not installed correctly. Like, for example, let's say my subcontractor said, oh, I'm done. And I'm looking at it and say, wait a minute, where is that blue box? I don't see it right here, right? So this can be done as for the QC. This can be used for safety inspections. Let's say you identified some issues, generated this, and everybody else can see what's happening at the job site. On the robotic side, the same way I can see what's happening through the AR, I can see through the eyes of this robot dog. What you see right now, the robot is starting their session, the mission. You see the Insta360 camera sitting on the dog. And these are the open space photos from that job site. So these are the photos that the dog takes every day. You see the smartphone on the dog that is loading the application. So we work with OpenSpace, Track3D, Drone Deploy, and all of the other toolkits can be also supported by this workflow. Or this can be a robot dog with the laser scanner. Like in this example, it's a Leica BLK ARC, or it can be Faro Orbis, or some other type of point cloud scanner, of engineering grade point cloud scanner, right? So if you have workflows where you need that level of scanning, it's doable, right? So what you see here, by the way, the charger. So that's where the robot sits to grab more juice for itself. Doesn't have to be the dog. It can be a wheeled device, like with 4 wheels, or it can be a device with tracks like this. You see how it's climbing up the stairs. So all of those are just different devices that can be deployed. Now let's discuss what they can be deployed for. They can be deployed for reality capture, let's say, like I was just showing, but they can do other things. Like let's say you do like for 2-3 hours, you're doing the reality capture, but then you can act as the night watchman, or you can be tracking the let's say RFID tags at of the materials at the job site to say, hey, I have a pile of this drywall in room 105. It's actually supposed to be in different room, right? Or they can be sensing the Wi-Fi signal and identifying the dead zones, and then reconfiguring your mesh network. So there's a lot of different things that the robots can do. We are just starting. Obviously, we are about 1.5 years old, right? So we are adding all of those use cases slowly to the pile of our what we can do. So these are some of the examples of integration with OpenSpace, with Track3D. They have some different requirements to what the needs, how the cameras need to be mounted, but all of this is doable. So in terms of how we actually explain why people need it, we explain that if, let's say, you have fully loaded cost of the person that you hire for that $80 an hour, well, industry average is, I think, 75 across the country. In some areas, it's 80. If they do it for an hour, hour and a half, they will charge you for 3 because they need to get there, then they need to go back, relax, etc. So you have, let's say, $240 per walk. In the past, people were trying to do it like every other week or once a month. But with new AI capabilities, let's say you have safety AI from Drone Deploy, you have Progress AI, you have other things. Everybody realizes that it's beneficial to do this kind of walks every day. Every shift starts with somebody evaluating what's happening at the job site. Everybody wants to see what's progress tracking, like Track3D or Disperse or some other things, right? So we realized that what we, as a human, we would spend something like $4,800 just to do this simple walk. We charge for the whole thing $3,500 for everything, for the robot, for the service, for the software, the whole 9 yards. And so we provide it as, we can definitely explain why that it's just cheaper, right? And also the robots are walking through the same path versus the humans who today I want to go here, tomorrow I want to go there. So you don't have the stability, then next week I'm on vacation, etc. So that's what we see in terms of the benefits of robotic workforce. And starting with the dogs, like I mentioned, we are looking into the ways how the humanoids are going to be implemented at the job site. And in this example, humanoid is doing some hole drilling. I'm definitely seen some examples of humanoids that can be used for the energizing the site. There are some other use cases are coming. I'm not a big fan of the humanoid form factor. It's too complex. Lots of those tasks can be solved with a simpler form, but they are coming. People and kind of getting interested in having them. So we need to be prepared for that as well. We can deploy those robots inside of the buildings. So like in this example, there's multiple robots that are communicating between each other. Let's say this is robot number 1, this is robot number 2. So we establishing how they navigate, or they deployed outdoors. So these are usually unmanned ground vehicles that can travel across the difficult terrain using GPS. We can locate them. And we can integrate them with the digital twins. Like in this example, this is what my previous software solution does, that is now called Siemens Lifecycle Twin. So we're looking at how these robots can be acting, helping the clients, the owners, after the project is finished. So in this example, let's say we got an alarm from this rack. So as a human, I would go there myself, I would look at it, I will understand that the temperature is too high. Then I would start investigating what do I have about this rack, what kind of history of the sensor values, what kind of information I have about, let's say, metadata, drawings, documents. We actually working right now on similar project with Autodesk Tandem. So it's also a pretty sophisticated digital twin software. So now robots will be integrated with this set of solutions to perform those inspections. They would be able to walk here, measure something, maybe even replace some of the parts of the, let's say, replace the faulty UPS or something else. It depends on the complexity of what needs to be replaced, right? So that was kind of a first, what I wanted to show you in terms of the presentation. These are my contact info. So you guys, if are interested, happy to provide you more details. I can show you a few other videos from these, from my job sites and the project. Like, for example, here's the example of the autonomous walk. What we do is we create a SLAM map of the environment, and then the robot defines how they would walk across. For example, I'm saying, yeah, you can go to these rooms. Don't go to these rooms. I don't want you to go there. Like, just don't. Right? Robot says, fine. So it builds itself an optimal path and just walk across that path. Don't go. It doesn't go where you don't want it to go, but it, avoids the obstacle itself. So this is the autonomous walk. Completely, we are not touching it, right? So if we do want to touch it, let's say somebody's standing in this door frame, right? And somebody is doing some work here. Then a human supervisor would interfere, and maybe we will send an audio signal saying, hey, dude, can you please move on? I need to walk. I'm walking here, right? Or we just say, well, hold on, no problem. I will just go through this door or through some other door, right? So it's up to the human to make a decision in terms of that. If there's no obstacle, the robot continues and walks around until the battery gets drained and it needs to go back to the doghouse where it sits and waits for the next command, right? So that's what different examples are. This is another example. This was the old video where we actually started maybe a year and a half ago that shows you the brain of a robot, how it actually thinks where it needs to go. This is the robot within the 3D. Let's say it gets to that valve, reads the value of this valve and translates it into the digits and sends it to the necessary software for the future analysis. Then avoids this obstacle, gets to the next, and reads the value from this meter and sends it to wherever it needs to send it. So that's just another example of that. And in terms of the augmented reality, we also observed there's a benefit for like I mentioned, for commissioning, when you start turning on and off those your BMS system, understanding what the values are. So I'm standing in front of this equipment and I can see real-time values here. I can turn on and off my 3D layers here. So as a user, I'm present remotely at different parts of my job site and performing this analysis through this virtual web interface, an AR interface. All right. So so that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. Any questions?
No, that's great. That's great, Igor. I do have a few questions just for things that I've been trying to overcome in my. If you want to leave that up so folks can keep it up for a little bit. I don't have another great slide to put in its place, but so I think one of the things that I've been struggling with is communication on the job site. So what are some of the hurdles that you've been able to overcome, whether it's existing Wi-Fi or do you rely on 5G, or how are you connecting your equipment, the job site in general, and then the three-dimensional model, whatever form that lives in, and is there lag? Are there things? Is it instantaneous turnaround time? Like, how do you prepare for say a review with 5 other trade partners and a design team? What's the optimal layout?
It depends, of course, on where the job site is located. If it's covered well by one of the cell service providers, let's say T-Mobile or Verizon. It also, if it's not, there's always Starlink as a backup. It also depends on what is inside the structure. Is it like thick concrete wall with rebars that are blocking the signal? It also depends on how the walls are within structured. Is it like open warehouse like environment, or there's a lot of small rooms and there's like, I don't know. So all of those things affect the signal. Fortunately, like I mentioned, we do autonomy as much as we can. So for the areas where we know there will be a dead zone, we prefer to set up the autonomous navigation. And so even if we don't get any stream, we
Oh,
still
right. Okay.
kind of we expect it to get back to us safe and sound, because it doesn't need Wi-Fi connection for just autonomous walk. We still
Okay.
prefer to stream it because who knows what's going to happen, right? It's a live dangerous environment. So somebody was, let's say, just forgot to let's say the lidar of the robot, it can recognize some obstacles but not everything. So it may not recognize, for example, the water dripping from the ceiling.
Right.
And
Yeah.
there may be some water dripping on the electronic equipment, right? So or it may not recognize a very thin wire that somebody left in the corridor. So humans may notice that, and not all humans even notice it, right? So we still have safety
Right.
problems at the job site. So those kind of things, that's why we prefer to do what we call supervised autonomy versus complete autonomy, where nobody really even watches what the robot is doing. We just think it's not really safe to do the autonomy when the humans don't really look at them.
I think
Um,
that's been one of the challenges for ourselves as AEC professionals is I feel like we're trying to manage our owners and operators' expectations. And I
mhm.
think we're also trying to bring new ideas to the table as constantly as possible, as sort of balancing those two out, where you want to see technologies like yourself flourish and understand what the roadblocks are, so that whether we can set up the job site a little bit better, and then in addition to that, there's not like a magic solution right now. There's not. We're under development trying to come up with these better tools. There's a statement slash question. Are there?
I
It
also
feels
see
like.
that I also see robots as enablers of some additional use cases. Like, for example, I mentioned this configuring Wi-Fi. Right now, 99% of job sites that I've known, that I spoke to, they do have dead zones. Like not like, so they have some areas, let's say trailer is covered by within the within the site itself, there are areas that don't have Wi-Fi.
Right.
So robots can be actually the ones who sniff it out, so to say, and they bring the mesh towers to the proper location to expand the coverage. So they can dynamically reconfigure the job site's coverage depending on where the materials are. Let's say you brought a bunch of piping, and now behind that piping pile there's the dead zone, right? So the robot can place something next to it to increase the quality of the signal there. So in this case, you can say, now that I have Wi-Fi everywhere, I can start using, let's say, smart hard hats that I couldn't use before because I didn't have the full Wi-Fi coverage.
Yeah,
So
that's that leads into um, as GC. Not only do we have temporary power, but we have solutions like Starlink, and that we've configured Starlink in the correct manner to where we're getting great coverage all along each column line. Or
mm,
before the after the column line, we're starting to focus on zones of specifically with room layout and what makes the most sense. And we can't just have it static. We may have to move things around a little bit as we go. But those are some of the things we need to prepare for. Is not only are you going to start with your temporary power, But you also need to account for temporary Wi-Fi as well, or project long Wi-Fi.
Right. There is also lots of challenges that we are not even thinking in advance. Like, for example, is it even allowed to remote into these computers? Like, for example, is your IT security allowing to access those devices remotely?
Right.
Can you launch them? Like, for example, we cannot remotely control the drones, right? Because FAA will not allow that. Indoors, probably yes. Outdoors, probably not. Like, or there's some political security issues, which phones we can use, cannot use. So, so all of those questions are not really technical even. They are like, I would say organization-wide.
Policy, organization, municipal, intellectual property. Like now all of a sudden we have our council involved trying to figure out what we can do on the job site right away while we're pushing the envelope in developing these technologies.
And just yesterday, I heard from somebody, they said, we will not allow humanoid robots on our job sites just because our trade partners think that it's stealing their jobs. So we will just not allow them.
Right.
So,
that makes sense.
Hey, Joe. Yeah, I think what we've been discussing on the artificial intelligence front, on the large language model front, is that, it takes virtual design and construction BDC guys to educate and to advocate for these technologies. And so I believe that the fact that sorry, I'm trying to get this background up for us.
I mean, I do second that statement. We are the educators, more or less, a lot of times.
Right. I think that where my thought process is that we're going to have to learn how to develop and control the large language models so that it's just another tool, and I think that it gets kind of blown out of proportion, though it is people's concerns, right? Like the real world consequences that all of a sudden folks are not allowing you to develop or not allowing you to present to bring different technologies onto the forefront because a portion of their team is nervous and scared that these things are going to take their jobs.
And that's the soft side of construction that really isn't often, well, it's often overlooked and not often discussed, right? The soft side of construction, right? Why would you have an issue with a humanoid robot taking your position? The psychology of that, it looks like me, it's doing something similar to what I'm doing now. The rate of technology and the advancements that we're seeing, why would I continue working this hard in my current direction or career? Some may be saying now lack of career direction because of something like that. But the sheer notion that comes with the psychology behind having something look like you doing the same job that you're doing, that's in my opinion why they have these robot dogs, right? Because the robots in themselves can be kind of scary, but you want something a little friendlier to look at, and the idea of this robot dog walking around the site is like that is digestible, and people can get behind that.
Well, it's also what Igor said at the beginning. It's not efficient. Humanoid robots aren't efficient at all. I totally agree with you when you're saying there's better forms out there that can do these tasks more efficiently, whether lower to the ground or the mass is a little bit different, or it just has one purpose with one arm, with one appendage.
Look at Dusty. Look at rugged robotics, right? Look at CIV robotics. Look at there's several companies, Canvas. They all not humanoids and they're doing great jobs.
Yeah. It's got 3 wheels and where it's supposed to have a laser and a markup paint, it's where it's supposed to be. So I get it. It's not vanity. I think a great, a sidetrack for science fiction movies, but Interstellar did a great job with its robot. I think TARS, it's something completely that we haven't even thought about, of just being a very functional entity that just helps us get the job done. So I can't wait to see what different forms start showing up on the job site.
I do have a question for you, Igor.
Sure.
A lot in great presentation. This is
Thank
really cool. And I think what you've done certainly deserves that applause. But my question is, what kind of KPIs do you look for as far as a candidate? And when I say candidate, I'm talking like GC company. What KPIs do you look for within them that say that this is a good candidate that they could use our software and hardware on our sites?
The ultimate goal is, of course, to make it very democratic, so any project could be using it. But let's be realistic. Is we start right now. It's the first year of operations, so we primarily look at the longer projects that have at least 9 months in duration, like
Okay.
between 9 and 15 months, just because it takes us a month just to launch it, like to order the robot, to bring it to the site, like to do the first tests, to kind of get used to the client. So find out what kind of reliability issues exist, etc. So we usually look at something that is at least a few months long. And also depends on, like, is there's a lot of mud, for example. Like I was just a few hours ago at the wastewater treatment plant project, and there's a lot of smaller buildings there, and between them there's like just you have to be there, so the smaller robots will not be able to walk it through that mud.
Sure.
Within the building, yeah, they're fine, but outdoors we will need some kind of other device. So it may be a combination, actually, that there may be a wheeled platform that carries the robot dog on its back, right? So kind of, and you see that's what I was mentioning about the form factor. Nobody forces you to build one body that does everything. You can have an arm being attached to a wheel, the platform, and then like it may be a three arm device. If it lifts the pipe better with 3 arms, then let's add 3 versus 2, right? So
Exactly. Okay, well, that's pretty cool, and I imagine that would be a factor for any project for sure, or those factors would be. No, I appreciate you answering that.
sure.
Jose, question for you: what made, and you may not be privy to this information, but Chrisman deciding to go with Igor's platform, what kind of was the selling
I'll
point?
go ahead. I'll go ahead and interrupt you. I think Igor probably knows this more. He was here before I got here, working with our director of virtual design and construction. So he may be able to tell the Genesis story a little bit better, as to how we developed our relationship.
Well, there are a few factors. One is obviously there's the marketing factor that shows Chrisman as to the potential clients, because when your customer facility owner sees the level of advanced technologies that you're using, they start respecting you more than just the run-of-the-mill GC, right? So that's one factor. Second is stability in getting those photography walks. You have sometimes people saying, yes, I will do that, but then they don't. So I think it's a bit more the frequency of those walks increased with us doing that. At least I hope so. There's also the future, right? So we all know that robots are coming, but we need to start with something simpler, right? To understand what to be aware about. Like Carrie, Jose's partner and director of innovation at Chrisman, right? He has learned quite a lot, and we've learned quite a lot because we've worked together as partners with Chrisman, right? So we're now on the second project with Chrisman, And so we are learning on both of those, what works better here, there, device types, service agreements, etc. So they are not new anymore. They've already acquired a year-long experience with dealing with robots, right? So the different types of robots will be coming in. They will already have some experience with those robots. Like, for example, I do remember Kerry was saying, look, I'm going to use Dusty also to print something on the floor. We can actually print potentially a path for this robot of yours. And so we started combining actually some ideas.
Oh, nice.
Kerry also, he actually also used augmented reality that I showed for Magically. So he did it when he did some pony wall holes. I'm not an expert, so that's what he was telling me. So like whether the holes where they're supposed to be in the wall, are they aligning between the model and the actual? So those are use cases that he come up with. So experimenting with those technologies is the opening additional new workflows that we haven't thought before about, right? So, and it's easier to work with startups than with larger organizations. That I've worked for both. I know how things work in very large organizations when nothing is being made. Like people, startups go to larger companies, and then it's very difficult to add new features and grow.
Right.
So, so that's why Christian probably worked with us. So, and we're happy about working with them.
No,
Well, I know that.
I like that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know that we're always, as an educator and advocate for different operational pieces that make the bottom line better, makes us all happier, it's not all about money, but it does make the projects run smoother. And so if we can find different solutions and come up with new ideas, it's great to have a partner that's listening to you on the other side of the table. Specifically when, I'm kind of the new guy here in the DFW area, you start hearing, oh, well, did you call Igor? It's like, oh, not yet, but I will. So
Nice,
it's great,
yeah.
Great to have that collaborative approach for everybody.
Especially
involved.
a tech partner.
Yeah, I mean, we grow with them. Like we grow with Chrisman. So we help them, they help us to learn. And our solution right now is day and night compared to what we had a year and a half ago. So
yeah,
this has been an amazing presentation. I do have to hop off here. But Igor,
well, thank you for jumping on, Joe. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I mean, this has been very informative for me, and I'll take this back to our company. Obviously, you hit it on the head there with larger companies, them being a little bit more rigid in their workflows and processes. But it'd be good just to have an open dialogue, and maybe in the near future be able to incorporate something like that on one of our projects. But it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate having you here with us today, Igor.
thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Jose.
Yeah, no worries. Does anybody else on the call have any questions for Igor? No? Okay, well, I have one more slide here. So our next meeting for AIA TEXO Steering Committee is coming up on November the 19th. If you guys regularly attend this meeting, it is 1 week ahead of when it typically is, and that's due to the Thanksgiving holiday, that holiday week. So it's a little bit different from what's on your normal calendar, but we've moved it on Basecamp, and we've also moved it on the AIA TEXO calendar. So again, November 19th. So I want to thank you very much, Igor, for going through Teleworker AI. Really appreciate your time.